Hi, Amanda. This is Fancy, and I know you're working hard to understand this. You definitely addressed the issues that I pointed out in the first video. So you have, excuse me, added more water, um, definitely, and you've broken up the pattern orientation as well. Um, so let's take a look at it. You definitely still have, areas of fire where you have your perceptual opposites right next to each other. So here and both here and here in here. Um, and then as you look around, um, these are kind of less saturated areas, um, but you still have fire, like you have some in here and, in here. So one thing that I found helpful going back over Linda's information is maybe in addition to thinking about fire and water, you also think about areas that are in or out of focus in your design. Excuse me, I keep yawning this morning. So, areas of fire will be areas that are in focus, they're just sharper in your design. And areas of water will be areas that appear to be out of focus in your design. They're kind of watery, out of focus, kind of dreamy kind of areas of your design. And you want more areas that are out of focus than are in focus in your design. This seems to um, help me think about the designs better, a little bit more concrete than areas of fire and water. So in focus versus out of focus. So if we look at your visual pathway that you've got set up, it's pretty much all in focus. There's not really an area where it goes out of focus, where the perceptual or the chromatic grays are so concentrated that this line or this pathway becomes kind of blurry. It's all pretty in focus and clear. Um, Areas that are out of focus right now could kind of include this area here, maybe. So there's about, two um, steps in your scale that demonstrate chromatic grays. And as I mentioned in the post, um, your original design had more chromatic grays. Then this palette you made a change to your perceptual opposites and remix them. These kind of tend more toward, these middle steps kind of tend more towards green rather than chromatic gray, so that might be something that you want to adjust. If you feel comfortable pushing on with your design and then swapping out the colors later, that's fine. If you want to swap out the colors right away, that's fine. But the palette for your first design posting actually had less green and more chromatic grays in those middle values. As for the unity of the piece, you do have these kind of blue areas, kind of nicely distributed throughout the design. Um, and these are working okay as well. This one looks a little bit less unified than the others. So this is kind of a larger area, um, and this takes on a similar shape. We kind of, through closure, we kind of imagine that it continues off the page. This one is kind of abruptly, it doesn't gradate on all four sides like this blue area does. It's kind of got a sharp boundary here. These are kind of smaller areas of this other end of the scale, this other perceptual opposite, and it has a similar treatment as this one, but again, these two do not unify with this, or this. Um, as far as a strategy of visual pathways, You have this visual pathway that's right in the center, and our eye just kind of keeps going around and around. It doesn't really go to other parts of the design, and I'm not entirely sure it's working anyway. I might kind of scrap this for now and then concentrate on these maybe points of emphasis um, that you've created with the blue, and these secondary emphasis points that you've created with the orange, yellow orange. And then maybe try to get them to go in and out of focus. So you need more chromatic grays in here. These are kind of creates overallness because you kind of got perceptual opposites next to chromatic grays. You want chromatic grays next to chromatic grays, and then have them kind of interpenetrate these areas that you've got set up. With that said, gradation isn't the sole strategy that you need to concentrate on. You need to also concentrate on a secondary strategy, whether it's a visual pathway or whether it's points of emphasis, or points or interpenetration. So work on kind of the basic composition, defining areas of water, so large areas of water, large areas that are out of focus, versus smaller areas of fire, or smaller areas where the design is in focus because the perceptual opposites are right next to each other. I hope that makes sense. Take a look at some of the other posts or revisit the Linda's video on past student work to get a little bit more clear picture of what the objective of the assignment is.